Hello, good morning. Let me see if we are operating and up and running. Okay, I'm still checking if we are up and running. And I think we are. Congratulations to us. Okay, so it's been a pretty difficult situation that had to be resolved last week. Finally resolved, thanks to Cosmos. So, due to us um, trying to resolve the situation with the Ghost node, we repurposed some of the hardware devices for a hardware proxy, hardware VPN essentially. And voila, to some extent. So you guys hear me, everything is great, and there's no loss of Web2 signals despite what YouTube or the national government is trying to do. So this is very good. Now, today, we will have a lot to discuss. Maybe we will run a little bit late. And of course, we would like your participation. The more the better, because we're entering a pretty critical moment in the Ghost development. And the critical moment is associated with the fact that the Ghost chain is around the corner and everybody's excited, to say the least. Everybody's excited. Okay. So we got two people watching, not sure who that is. The more the better. Maybe people were not aware that there was a call today. But there is a call. Where else? All right. Let me begin. Good morning, Mr. IDK. So let me begin. We had a pretty tough call with select council members last week. Didn't have a chance to cover this, unfortunately, because of the YouTube situation. But the nutshell of the discussion is to identify whom we can partner with as Ghost. There are some interesting ideas that came out later this week. We discussed it with another group of council members, and for example, tomorrow we'll have like another call. Plus Tuesday we'll have another call. So lots of ideas regarding how to enhance the traffic, but while enhancing the traffic, increasing the traffic to the Ghost, really focus more on assembling the right tribe people, right? So that vision is still the same. It didn't change. What we discussed specifically last week was which partners we can integrate with. And it may sound to some like vetting, right? So do we vet a project? And I want to disqualify this opinion right away because it's not that we have a blockchain destined for developers and any developer can join, and that's the whole point of the blockchain, to attract development talent. The Ghost chain is not attracting development talent per se. It's a different type of chain. Why would you ask? Well, because we're not an EVM fork. That's why. So if we were an EVM fork, because every single other chain right now is an EVM fork or L2 fork or L3 freaking fork or something. So these forks, of course, it makes sense, to focus on the development talent. They finally understood the idea. Alec and the crew delivered to the audience, whatever, almost 10 years ago now, since 2015. They finally understood the genius of Ethereum. Oh, it's about developers. No fucking way. We are not focused on development talent necessarily. It's a different type of chain. It's a meta chain connecting EVM blockchains together. It's a totally new use case. It's a totally new approach. It's unique. Lots of IP, intellectual property, right? So it's a really new thing. And we all should be proud. We all ghosties should be proud of it. So therefore, we cannot just be, unfortunately, open to any project because we just don't have that technological capacity. I'm not talking about customer support capacity or integration capacity. It's more about the technological capacity. So when it comes down to us deploying, so in this case, we are the ones deploying a dApp on an EVM chain XYZ, we need to be very careful with whom we deploy on. And the reason why we have to be slightly picky, and the reason why it may sound like, oh, we're vetting, well, we're not vetting, is because we need to understand how to allocate the dev resources. Because unfortunately, lots of these EVMs just don't work properly. So the forex not even done correctly, right? So the vetting process goes like this. Let me share the screen. Boom. Okay. Booyaka shot. So integration partner discovery. So number one, EVM compatibility. Right. So that's a technological aspect. Lots of chains out there say that we are EVM compatible or something, or we have an EVM. However, upon further research, it's not the case. So the development team of Ghost needs to establish that a chain XYZ is in fact EVM compatible. Because it could have an EVM engine. It could have some type of EVM aspects to it, but it's not integrated properly, which will require us to rewrite the code. So if we need to rewrite the code, is essentially like, let's assume for Ghost Auction, it means that, okay, so we have Ghost Auction for EVM, and then we have another version of Ghost Auction for something like EVM. And the logical question is like, but those codes will be similar, right? Perhaps they could be similar, they may not be similar. However, when you are introducing a new product, which resembles or which is comprised of smart contracts, it's not about just writing the code. It's a little bit of education right now, right? Okay, you wrote the code. Congratulations. You then need to test it. And testing the code does not just mean, oh, let's give it to the users and they will test it. There are all types of different tests. Like all types of different tests. And these tests need to be written. So every single test is a potential scenario of something that could go wrong. And that something that could go wrong, maybe 10% of that is associated with potential hacks and vulnerabilities from hacking perspective. But 90% of it is just pure business logic. For example, maybe the numbers will become so big that they will be essentially, I forgot the term for it. But you got the idea, right? So the numbers cannot be recorded in the memory storage, and therefore the code is just not going to be operable. It's not a timeout. I keep forgetting this term, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So we need to accommodate for that, right? Or maybe there's division by zero, right? Like maybe the supply has to be non-zero, so we have to introduce this if statement that if the balance is zero, we're not dividing by zero, right? So all those little things, and all of that needs to be tested. Okay, but if you tested those, if you wrote these tests on the EVM, aren't the tests the same on a chain that looks like EVM? Yes and no, right? Those tests need to be, potentially new tests need to be written because we need to dive deeper into what that specific EVM does, how they treat certain errors, how they treat certain computational things. How do they calculate the gas required for certain transactions? Because again, it's not about just writing the smart contracts. It's a whole thing. It's the whole little world, right? That is required to be properly analyzed before we can go and deploy it. Ghost Auction in particular, you don't know. Like we didn't even disclose the genius part of the Ghost Auction is the fees. There's a tree, the special type of data tree that enables significant optimization of gas fees. We didn't talk to you guys about this because it's boring, but it's been months in the works regarding this backend feature, right? Now, it does make much sense to the users because the users just want to, whatever, DeFi gambling, DeFi degen, whatever, or NFTs degens, right? They don't care about the backend. But from development perspective, we have to. And then the question is, do we present it all and throw it all on you as users? Maybe not a good idea, because what is it for me? Congratulations that you guys are very smart and do some cool stuff, but what is it for me? Well, low fees. Okay, thanks. Right? So what I'm trying to say is, like, just because a chain looks like EVM, it's not the same, right? It essentially is equivalent to rewriting the entire dApp from scratch. Same thing applies to other frameworks such as Solana. Why are we not live on Solana? Why are we not live on Neo Protocol? Why are we not live on, I don't know, Algorand? Are they still alive? Same reason, right? So it's a different framework. It's a different. Oftentimes, it's literally different coding language required, which was a pretty stupid freaking thing for them to do. So you're not writing the smart contracts on Solidity. You're writing them on some new programming language that was specifically created to differentiate themselves and the ecosystems. So for us to rewrite Ghost Auction on Solana or Ghost Auction on Neo Protocol, it's essentially equivalent to writing the entire dApp from scratch. User interfaces will be the same, great, but even the hooks could be different, connecting the smart contracts to the user interface. So that's why the chain needs to be EVM compatible. At this point of time, based on the research, EVMs, thanks to Ethereum, represent 40% of the TVL or 40% of the market cap of all the chains out there. That includes obviously Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, etc., Binance, BNB chain. 40% is not 100%. We get it. Yes, we're missing out on Ton chain. We're missing out on Solana chain potential, although we don't want to kind of deploy on Solana because Solana is a centralized thing. But overall, kind of if you write one dApp and then able to deploy this dApp on 40% of chains essentially out there based on market cap, I mean, that's a good idea, right? And that's what we're doing. We're trying to do 20-80, so 20% of effort leading to 80% of the result. So first thing is, a chain XYZ that you guys want us to deploy on needs to be EVM compatible. This is a test that the developers will be able to identify pretty fast. So if you have any good ideas about which chains we should be deploying Ghost NFT, Ghost Airdrop, Ghost Auction, and then also Ghost DAO, when Ghost DAO is there, right? Ghost DAO is the most important part of it all, because Ghost NFT, Ghost Auction, Ghost Airdrop, that's a preparation for the Ghost DAO. So let us know. Give us the chains, throw them in the Ghost Whales, because so far we don't see that many opinions from you guys, and we should. If you have any chains right now that are, on the back of your head right now, please throw them in the chat right now. Say, hey, would be cool to deploy on these chains or whatever. Because we've analyzed behind the doors, behind the walls. You guys maybe don't know, we analyzed, I don't know, almost 100 different chains already on their EVM compatibility. So we have a list. So there's a good chance that your chain that you want us to deploy on has been already analyzed and kind of vetted against because it's not EVM compatible. But nevertheless, right, it's a community effort, and we should be looking into the chains that you guys like us to deploy on, because maybe you have some interesting relationships with these chains, connections with these chains, you just like the chain community, etc. So EVM compatibility, the technical test, that's easy. Okay. Item number 2, marketing deliverables. That's the most important part. So once EVM compatibility is established, which is pretty easy, marketing deliverables, that's what we're struggling with. That's what we are absolutely struggling with. And yesterday, so let's discuss Mint Chain, and also let's discuss Bearer Chain in particular. I'm not going to be providing the actual copy or screenshots, because maybe that's a little bit unethical. But let's just discuss. Like, I'll read it to you, right? Like, I'll read it to you and trust. Like, you have to either trust me or not that this is what the chains wrote to us, right? So on the Mint chain in particular, right? So let's go. Again, I can easily show the screenshot, but let me not do this. I don't think it's a good idea. Okay. So 3 days ago. Hey, sorry for late response. That's the response for Mint. You have applied for both our NFT Summer program and the Mint Expedition. So we applied to 2 programs apparently. Okay, good. Given the current demand, we cannot guarantee a specific date at this time. However, you listed on our ecosystem page and we can retrieve the integration announcement. So before we integrated, Senti, how are you? Federal, how are you? So before we integrated on Mint as an engineering launch, because Ghost Auction, Ghost NFT, Ghost Airdrop live on Mint mainnet, and thank goodness that Mint actually provided us with the fees. They donated $150 worth of Ethereum for us to deploy. I think $100 or $150 of Ethereum for us to deploy on. Luxury Rights, what's up? So with what's happening, right, with Mint, the reason why we wanted to deploy is because A, they reached out to us themselves. B, they positioned themselves as an L2 Optimism fork or Optimism whatever, focused on NFTs. And that's perfect for Ghost Auction. That's perfect for Ghost NFT. Like a chain dedicated for NFTs. Good or bad, doesn't matter. Perfect combination, perfect potential integration. And then they promised us a number of things. As an upcoming chain, they promised us so many things, including Galaxy campaign with, as they've said, 400,000 users. 400,000 users. So amongst marketing deliverables, of course, we had a tweet and retweet. Of course, we had a joint article potentially. Of course, we have add goes to the Mint ecosystem page. Okay. Of course, we had like, oh, introduce us to, NFT collections. But we also had a Galaxy campaign that they said they will do, right? So check this out. We deploy on Mint, help Mint become a better chain with more users, help users become more, interactive on the chain, therefore producing transactional fees, etc. So now Mint can go back to investors and raise more money because they're Web 2.5, right? So that's good for them. It's good for them to have more users. It's good for them to have many transactions. And we can fucking do it. We proved it before with Ghost NFT. Ghost Auction, that's a gray horse. We don't know. But Ghost NFT is deployed as well. And the idea was, hey, listen, let's push Ghost NFT here with your Galaxy campaign. And then convert them to Ghost Auction and see how it works. Right? Because Ghost Auction is a new product. We need to deploy it properly. Okay. Galaxy campaign disappeared. That's the most important thing. That's the whole point. That's why we're so aggravated because, oh my goodness, it took some time to deploy on Mint Chain. There have been some issues with it, some gas fees. There has been gas fee miscalculation because the developers of Mint didn't tell us exactly how the fees are being calculated. Right? The fees on Mint Chain, for like specific example, we thought we needed $5 worth of ETH, literally $5, because the gas fee on Mint mainnet is so damn cheap. And we asked the developers specifically, is that so? Because we know exactly how much gas we're going to spend. So then there's a formula how to convert gas into the actual dollar amount. And the developer of Mint said, absolutely, you're correct, 100,000%. That's all you need. And then we deployed the first smart contract. And the cost for that was like $4. We're like, what? Which represents like 1% of the gas required. So we went back to the developer and said, hey, what's going on? He's like, well, there's also, on top of the $5 on the Mint chain, you're also being charged $100 on the Ethereum chain. Right? Because every single rollup does that. Okay, probably, whatever, maybe it makes sense. But then, of course, the question is like, why the fuck do we need rollups if you still pay the Ethereum fees? And second, how come you didn't tell us before? Again, Mint Chain then still donated to us $100 or $150 worth of gas fee we successfully deployed. So kudos to them for that. Perfect. Where's my Galaxy campaign? We deployed all these issues, all these problems, everything, asking the team to prepare logos, to add everything to to the Ghost Auction page, test it, make sure it's good, blah 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 blah. There also have been some geo restrictions. Our team is distributed. Some members of our team could not access not just the website of Mint, but the chain of Mint through RPC endpoint. The RPC endpoint has been blocked, geo-blocked. Mainnet and testnet, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong here, so don't quote me on this. But there's some geo restriction on one of those, or maybe both. So also through proxy, all this stuff, like we had to figure it out. Like it was not an easy ride, and we did it all for the potential to have a synergy, which is, listen, let's do it together, 400,000 Galaxy campaign users, right? And let's engage them and see how Ghost Auction works out, and you guys going to get transactional fees, and it's going to be an exclusive launch. Now, Cosmos is thinking this. And guys, please keep writing your feedback questions. I will address it later today for sure. Please put them in the chat. So what Cosmos is thinking happened to Mint Chain, I think that's actually a real thing, is this. Mint probably failed to attract enough NFT projects to even compose an NFT summer event. Maybe, like, again, verbatim to Cosmos, it's an over-exaggeration, but let's assume that there's Ghost and there's like 2 more projects. So there are 3 total projects, and they thought that they would get 100 projects for the NFT summer, like Linea did, because Linea got a lot of projects. But they only got, let's assume, 3 projects. One of them is Ghost. And then they said, well, it just doesn't make sense for us to do Galaxy campaign. It's not that they closed it for Ghost, they closed it for everybody, because they failed to attract developers. No wonder they failed to attract developers, right? Because they still should have done it. They still should have freaking done it. If they promised it to us, we already deployed. Like, we have been shitting on Mint Chain for weeks now, right? Because of this treatment. And of course we called Web 2.5, because, like, why wouldn't we? And what's the cost of the Galaxy campaign, right? Cost-benefit analysis that the managers of Mint did. So the marketing deliverables have been promised. Item number 2 on the screen. But the marketing deliverables did not really get delivered. Some did. So we are on the ecosystem page. They have been tweeting about us. They're asking us if we want to retweet. But is that enough for us to really drive enough usership on the Mint mainnet? Does it make sense for us to really proceed with the exclusive launch of Ghost Auction and have a shitty launch because nobody comes in? Right? Not because the project is bad, product is bad, not even because the chain is bad, because there's no freaking traffic on the chain. Potentially. Right? So that has been the situation with Mint. Situation with Bearer has been very similar. So, okay, EVM compatibility. Again, lots of headaches on the development side. But they're EVM compatible. Okay, fine. They passed the first test. Marketing deliverables promised has been the sky. Anything is possible. The team is great. It's amazing. The Bear Chain team is great. It's amazing. They share the same beliefs as Ghost. Yet they integrated an Axelar bridge or Layer 0 bridge, one of those, which is a fucking centralized piece of shit. So how can that be Web3? Okay, let's assume it is. Okay, marketing deliverables. Let me read to you what they wrote to us last time. 1 second. That has been pretty freaking shameful. It was August 8th. Was it August 8th? From somebody who calls himself Yogi, or herself, Yogi Berra. I reviewed your proposal and unfortunately will not be able to provide the support you're looking for, which is not Galaxy campaign, just tweet, retweet. Introduce us to 3 NFT projects, etc. At this stage, we require you to be deployed on testnet. Wow, which is really fucking difficult to deploy on because nothing works on Berra. Once confirmation of deployment, you can submit a tweet for approval request through our co-marketing request form. If approved, our team can provide support. Post-launch, if you show traction or do something uniquely aligned to Bearer Chain, then we can explore further options. So we have to do everything, right? Introduce a freaking, spend significant amount of resources. Pull these resources away. They're limited. They're not unlimited. So pull out dev resources from the Ghost chain that will benefit all of you guys to Bearer. That will benefit Bearer. Oh my god. And then with that, hope for the best. Because Bearer is so fucking famous and unique that if we show traction, then Bearer will do something more than just retweet about us. Wow. This is so freaking huge. How can we not call them a Web 2.5? Especially when they broke the fucking promise. Because if they told us this before, in the very beginning, we would have said no. The chain that said the same thing recently, same exact verbatim, that show us traction, and if there's traction, we will support you, it was Avalanche. Well, Avalanche has a lot more history. Good or bad, we don't like their consensus mechanism at all. But good or bad, whatever, they've been around a little bit more, and maybe they have the mojo to, to be a little bit more cocky. Maybe I'm okay hearing that from Avalanche, although that's also complete bullshit. If you look at the Avalanche transactional volume over time, it's very bad, not growing. But hearing this from an upcoming chain that needs projects. Another thing is somebody said that Berachain has 400 projects. And then the question, like 400 unique projects, not forks, because they're not looking for forks, they're looking for unique projects. And our question was immediately, how many projects does Linea have, including forks? I don't think they have 400 projects. So Linea doesn't and Bear does have it? Somebody is bullshitting me. And I think I know who. Okay. So this is the integration partner discovery. So if you guys have any suggestions regarding the chains, please let us know. So far, the suggestions came mostly from the council. We would like the suggestions to come from the whales. Because something is telling me that whales could be a lot more active than council. And that's how it's supposed to be. Well, it's not that's how it's supposed to be. It's not how it's supposed to be. Council needs to be as active as whales. Something is telling me that whales will be more active. And the network is all about activity. It's not a fucking aristocracy. Right? Like you have a castle, and now you can live in the castle in the England until your generation number 1000 dies out. No. That's not how it works. It's meritocracy. That's the whole point of Web3. If you're active, you get things. If you're not active, you lose things. Very simple. True, pure Web3 programmatic meritocracy. Please throw your views, your opinions. We'll value them. Not only that, there could be some referral stuff. If you can introduce us to these chains, and then these chains get introduced, maybe there could be some referral things in JVs and other tokens. Ghost. Okay. So that's on the side of integration partner when it comes down specifically with chains. Yeah. If you have any questions, suggestions, please throw them. Let me move to the next topic, which could be even more interesting. That's the idea from yesterday. We ran that idea briefly by 2 council members. They seem to like it. We're going to run it by more people tomorrow and Tuesday. Okay. I like how Cosmos fixed the proxy. Freaking genius. Freaking genius. Bypassing all this corporate and national bullshit with hardware technology. How smart is that? And that's exactly what we're going to do with Ghost as well. That's just the beginning of the exciting times. 1 second. 1 second. Let me pull something. So another idea that is at this point of time we are contemplating about, we are not sure, this is not approved. Who will be approving it if anybody? It will be, if anything, will be approved by the council. However, would be great to hear your thoughts in the meantime. So typically there's a swap. So let's assume I have 100 tokens. Let me see if you guys see it. Yeah. 100 XYZ tokens. And typically we can do a swap for 100, let's assume GMV, right? So some projects do that, for example, right? Like we do this as well. Like we say, hey, well, 100 GMV will be swapped for 100 Ghost, right? So even we do this, right? So that's fine. Typically, of course, these, like both XYZ token and GMV or whatever, are within the same ecosystem. Well, let's call it ABC, right? ABC. Typically, they're within the same ecosystem, so everything's good. Okay, that's cool. Now, what if there's a new term, and the new term that the dev team came up with, Miro swap. Boom! What is a mirror swap? Mirror swap is not a real swap. It's a mirror and a swap. New thing, because Ghost is known for creating cool shit. So let's assume you have a dying project. It's a Web3 project. And it's dying. Maybe it was a shitcoin, maybe it's a bad NFT collection, maybe whatever. Or maybe it's not dying, just not evolving. And most projects are in this category. So coming to mind, for example, is Polydoge, right? So Polydoge is actually our integration partner. It's essentially like a Dogecoin on Polygon. They're connected to the foundation of Polygon. We did an integration with the NFT. We integrated Polygon Punks with Polydoge through Ghost NFT. That has been one of the interactions, one of the good integrations we had with the Ghost NFT community. So Polydoge is not exactly dying. I think the price kind of went up. By no means I'm saying buy the token. No. Or recommending this token. No. I'm just saying there's a token Polydoge. It's obviously some type of a shitcoin. It's a meme coin by default, by definition, but given what's happening, it could be considered as a shitcoin. Shit token. So let's assume the market cap of Polydoge, I think, last time I checked, $10 million, right? The market cap of the entire project, which is not much. It's nothing. And of course they have, like, let's assume 100 trillion tokens. Like, they have some insane amount of tokens, right, in supply. Like, it's some crazy. So each token is worth like 0.000001. Like, something like this, right? So that's the price. Okay. So what we could do is this. Polydoge, let's make partnership. Let's do mirror swap. If your users come to Ghost and start swapping, they don't swap exactly. They just do something. They do some type of on-chain activity with Ghost. We keep your Polydoge in your wallet, but we also mint a GMV token. How could that work? So the exact mechanics we still need to figure out, but let's assume from 100 trillion, right? 100 billion tokens here. Let's assume 1 billion of users, right, with Polydoge has been doing some on-chain activity with Ghost. Okay, cool. So that represents 10%. This 10% represents about $1 million of market cap of a super illiquid token. Then we introduce some type of math regarding how to convert that 1 million into GMV. Let's assume this whole balance is associated with 100,000 GMV. Based on some math. Don't quote me on the numbers. I'm just speculating and I'm just giving high-level idea. So therefore, 100,000 GMV then will be redistributed to these people. What do we get from that? We get a number of things, right? So first of all, we get pure Web3 usership. These users are Web3. They're familiar with MetaMask. They probably have some balances. And because they have balances, I mean, I'm talking about like Tether or Matic or whatever, right? They can hypothetically also participate in the Ghost DAO. And that's what we need. We need to maximize for the TVL. So what we get significant number of users who are super qualified to be in the Web3 space. Remember how we said we need a tribe? So we can go to more decentralized projects like Polydoge. Yeah, it's a whatever. Like it's not a huge project, but the community is pretty decentralized. There's some other projects like this. Shitsu, that's another meme coin on Aurora/Neo protocol. There are some other partners that our council members have been talking about. Say dogs. Not the dogs NFT, but this project. Dogs, for example. So there are lots of projects that we have that we can integrate with in this capacity. Here's a trick. Fine. It seems like, oh, we're just distributing GMV for free. How is that fair? Not exactly. Because what's happening is once you get your GMV, so let's assume you got your 100,000 GMV, the entire Polydoge community got that, right? In order for them to really claim it, they need to participate in Ghost DAO, because for them to claim it or for anybody to claim it, they have to have some Ghost gas fee. And in order to get that gas fee, you need to buy. So you need to spend DAI on Ghost DAO for Ghost on the Ghost DAO. And then you need to bridge that for the Ghost coin on Ghost Chain. Right? So this is Ghost Chain, and this is Ethereum, for example. So now, while they did get supply of Ghost, which is great, of GMV therefore, for them to really get Ghost, they need to be integrated with the Ghost DAO. So they need to provide liquidity to the Ghost DAO, and that's great for us. And if you're going to proceed with this idea, at this point of time, that's just an idea. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear the thoughts of the council. We're going to be discussing this with the council separate on a separate note. If this is a good idea, if you're going to proceed with that, the person who recommends us the project, like let's assume Shitsu, right? Shitsu is this meme coin on Near and Aurora, right? The person who brings us Shitsu and users from Shitsu gets a referral fee. So let's assume Shitsu comes in with significant supply, and based on math formulas, etc., that will be publicly open, etc., let's assume they get 50,000 GMV, right? The entire Shitsu community gets 50,000 GMV based on the Miro swap. The person who brought us Shitsu community gets 10% of that 5,000 GMV as a referral reward. So then it's a game. It's a game of all of us, whales, non-whales, council, non-council, doesn't matter, any ghost. Bring your partners to the game. Bring projects that you are part of, that you have access to community. Bring them to us. Earn GMV. Earn as many GMVs as you can. Because at this point of time, we need to allocate significant amount of GMV, significant quantity. We need to allocate, based on the council vote, 5 million GMV. But based on, like more and more councils are pushing us to consider, and we're absolutely there, as we discussed before, like 14 to 15 million GMV need to be distributed to the community. And I'm personally totally for it. Personally, totally for it. And the dev team, same. And lots of council members are the same way. Same idea, because we need to be sufficiently decentralized. So that's another suggestion for now. How would we be vetting these projects? Because they are not exact, like we cannot just take any project, unfortunately. Have to kind of vet it. Those projects, we need to define what the exact guideline for the vetting is, because we are distributing GMVs, and we just need to make sure that the GMV allocation is fair to the existing community. That's all, right? That's why we have to vet it. However, the more active the community, the better. If it's a shitty dying project, but the community is great, and you see so many projects like this, you'll be impressed to see extreme number of dying projects with great communities, and we need to get these communities. So that's the biggest metric. How to quantify this, we'll figure it out. If you guys have suggestions, ideas, please bring us in the whales or here in the chat. So would love to hear your feedback on this idea as well. And if you have questions, please let me know. Because I would like to move to the next topic. Let me respond to some questions. So first of all, Federal, there's an ongoing project which will have a good use case, but they are still on testnet phase. Their mainnet is by next month, according to the team. Federal, what is that chain? Please tell us. Maybe you can tell us in PM. You can tell us in whatever, in public. If you have access to them, make the introduction. Make the introduction. You're going to get some referral fees as well for that. So please, we need to turn this into a grassroots movement. It is a grassroots movement, but maybe you guys don't realize how grassroots it is. I feel that some of you are thinking that, because based on our discussions with you guys, with whales, with lots of whales, it seems like nobody talks to you guys except for us. And that's a freaking shame. That's a freaking shame. And maybe you're thinking you learned that your opinions don't matter, but your opinions do matter a lot, because this project is you. We are here just to build the technical tools. This project is you. Of course, some decisions being made right now, but significant by the team, just because on the technical side, because we just need to move fast. But it's all we need your opinions. Zafira, good morning. What are some of the vetting criteria you have in mind up to now, just to get an idea? And it sounds like a good strategy. I like it. Well, so Zafira, so the team will hate me, but the Ghost Classic is a good project. Qualifies. Pretty freaking toxic. I get it. Maybe a little premature. Maybe we need a little bit of time. But it's a dying project. Ghost Classic is a dying project, but they have a pretty good community. The best metric is to go to the Discord or TG, ideally Telegram. Like my empirical evidence is that Telegram communities are better. I could be wrong. Discord is more soy, more Web 2.5. That's my personal impression. Could be wrong. But there's so much KYC on Discord that's no wonder kind of that continues into the actual psychographic of the audience. But for TG, you go to TG, you look at the size of the group. The size of the group could be 1,000 people, could be 100 people. But then you see everybody writing in that group. Maybe they're shitting on the project, shitting on the team, or maybe they're saying, let's save it together. And you see massive activity, right? And kind of maybe the best way to quantify it, how many messages, not non-spam, how many actual real messages are in the group over the course of the last month or week, right? And then we divide this by the number of users. And we estimate the average number of messages per user in that group over the last month. And then we look at what's the market cap, and then we apply some type of mathematical thing to make sure that it's fair for everybody, fair for the community, fair for our existing community to swap an appropriate number of tokens, so nobody feels bad, So something like that. That's my immediate thought. Cosmos would probably add Twitter to it, like how many users on Twitter. But again, it's not supposed to be a stellar community. It's supposed to be a shitcoin community, right? Like it's supposed to be a community, a great community, like great people who, made a wrong bet, whatever, associated themselves with a bad project, whatever. But it doesn't matter. Like, how to say what it's not. What it's not supposed to be is million followers on Twitter, million users in the Telegram group. The project raised $400 million and then got rock pulled by the team, like some shit like this. Chances are nothing will work out of this. Chances are it's going to be very niche, like 100 users in the group, 2,000 users in the group, maybe up to 5,000 users in the group. That's again my empirical, because we've been doing some research on that front. And so far we have a good number of projects already with whom we could potentially try to do the mirror swap, maybe up to 10 projects right now. So Polydoge is probably the biggest one. It's actually the most successful one. It's not exactly dying, by the way. I think the price is kind of going up a little bit. So, but don't you consider this as a recommendation or opinion? I like that's the only token that actually is not dropping in price yet. Key phrase is yet. But say Shih Tzu, like complete despair as far as price action, but fuck, the community is great. The community is great, and I think they're moving the needle. They are introducing new cool developments, user interfaces, ideas. Like, I just love these guys. Like, they are super optimistic. Yeah, they, whatever, didn't join the right path, whatever. But Shih Tzu is a great community. Maybe you guys can check it out just to get a good idea. Polydoge is also a pretty good community, right? So it's all about community. Federal Rental Network. They are looking for partners. It will take them about in PM. Yeah. Please send it to me. So Rental Network will check if it's EVM. Let me send it to the dev team, and if it's EVM compatible, boom, here we go. Council wants us to do Pulse Network for a long time, and here's the thing with Pulse. Here's why Pulse is Web3. Like, you either promote everybody or promote nobody, right? And Pulse say, fuck you, we're not going to promote anybody. Good, right? Like, It's fine if you tell us up front, listen, we're not going to promote anybody, like, just figure it out. Fine. Like, we still may deploy. That's the weird part. What we hate is when they overpromise and they don't deliver anything. That's what we hate, right? And Web3 is like, yes, you either promote everybody, like every single project goes to you, you have a specific guideline, specific set of instructions, what happens and how, like Linea did it. Linea promoted everybody. Or you promote nobody, like Pulse or Ethereum. Why be alive on Ethereum? There's no way how Vitalik is going to promote us. Why be alive on Ethereum? Because they don't promote anybody. It's the same for everybody. Everybody is equal, right? And what we hate is you go to a chain and you need to, pardon my French right now, you probably need to do some type of sexual activity to the founder of that specific XYZ project in order for that person to do a tweet, So that puts, so if I do some type of sexual activity on the founder of that chain, that gives me a unique, advantage over other projects that didn't do it. Obviously, I'm over exaggerating, right? But that's not supposed to be like this. Like, it's supposed to be equal for everybody. And what we could do, what we're thinking, like Cosmos always thinks about systems. That's why we like him. Always thinks about systems. Always thinks how to optimize things. He's always like, let's create a forum, like for chain partnerships. Let's create a forum. Any chain can submit the form, and then if they submit the form, then we it's available to everybody. Here's a public forum, and like as long as it's submitted properly, boom, we can integrate. Same thing for the projects. Like Cosmos, like, oh, for a mirror swap, let's do like a form for a project to apply for the mirror swap, right? So he's always thinking systems. He's always thinking permissionless inclusion. Keyword is inclusion and permissionless. Okay, Federal, thank you so much. Yeah, let's check it out. So it's been a pretty long call, Ghost Community call. Thank you so much for your participation. And yeah, I'm just glad that I'm glad on those days when everything works from technology perspective. Microphone is working and and YouTube is working. It's so rare. But I don't want to overblow you with too much info. So last piece of the agenda is, of course, about the nodes. So the team is working days and nights trying to figure out the minimum requirements for the nodes. Do not purchase any devices yet, please, because you may purchase, even if the team said Raspberry Pi is a good idea. Do not buy anything yet, please don't. I mean, unless you're buying for personal reasons, do not buy a device yet. We need to figure it out, because we don't want to appear like you guys buy a device, you cannot refund it anymore, you cannot return it, and you cannot use it for the Ghost chain. So there are pros and cons when it comes down to the node. So, and I kind of we need to balance it properly, and we need to balance this as a community, right? So, for example, currently we have 6 to 8 block production time. So the block of transactions gets produced every 6 to 8 seconds. But there are lots of variables impacting this. So we have a global map, right? So this is South America, and then this is Europe and Asia, and then this is Africa right here, and then there's Australia, right? So here's a map. So on this map, let's assume somebody from Australia on the network. Well, let me actually use a different color, right? Australia. Trying to connect somebody with Nigeria, trying to connect somebody from Venezuela, trying to connect somebody with the United States and Canada. And then we have Netherlands right here. And then we have, China. And then we have Japan. So for this network of nodes to still be able to produce blocks within 6 to 8 second time frame, we will require a couple of things. We will require strong machines. So specs of the machines. We will require internet speed as well. But at the same time, let's go Solana route, right? Where every single node costs you $10,000 a month at least to run a node, right? Of course, that's no good, right? It's like the not inclusion, but the exclusion right away for the $10,000 per month node. So of course it's a balance between what is the minimum machine, which will not massively impact this 6 to 8 second block production time. What we could do is minimize the requirements and then increase the block production time. Instead of 6 to 8 seconds, maybe it's going to be 25 seconds, for example, right? So it's always a balance of speed versus the machines. Of course, if we could go with 10,000 per month, yes, we can do like, I don't know, 1 second block production times. But it's going to be complete nonsense and BS because we are trying to build a decentralized network here. So it's a balance between specs, speed of the network, and reliability of the network as well. Because for proof of stake network, 6 to 8 seconds, like the proof of stake, not even proof of stake, let's put it differently. The account model blockchain networks, such as Ethereum, Polkadot, Ghost, of course, need faster block production time to try to avoid 51% attack. So we minimize the 51% attack by introducing faster block production times. So therefore, the specs may be a little bit higher for that. What does it mean higher? What does it mean from the wallet, from the budget perspective? So Raspberry Pi, RPI, Raspberry Pi, costs about $50, depending on your country, $40, $50. Maybe the machine that we'll be suggesting will cost $200, right? So you buy it and you run it. So we're not talking about $10,000 a month. We're not talking about $1 million per machine price. We're talking about $50 to $200. Do not buy anything yet. We just wanted to put it out there. Ideally, that's a separate device, separate hardware device, so that it doesn't compromise your home network, your home machine on which you do work, or work machine. So ideally, it's a separate one, and you run it, and maybe it's multiple separate ones. Now, multiple separate ones for whales, for you guys, it may sound like, what? Why do we need multiple? Well, you don't need multiple yet, although if you bring us lots of referrals, you will potentially need multiple machines to diversify risk. But for council members, it's a good idea to have multiple machines just to diversify risk, because if there's some type of slashing, the slashing will happen percentage-wise. It's a percentage type of slash, meaning if you have 1 million GMV, 10%, let's assume 10% is slashed. It's not slashed immediately. It's frozen first, then it's slashed if there's no appeal. So, of course, you can appeal. Like if there's electricity or internet problems, and then, they happen not because of not your fault, just your country or whatever, your house, your neighborhood. Happens everywhere. It's a global problem. Don't think, because some people say, oh, like, guys, federal, you'll get me, right? Like, oh, it's only in Nigeria. Trust me, it happens in the United States. Trust me, it happens in Europe. Happens everywhere. Maybe in Nigeria it's a little bit more consistent, but it literally happens everywhere. And there are protections against it, and provisions against it. So you're not going to get slashed immediately. Even if you get slashed, your amount gets frozen. You have, like, let's assume a week or a month to appeal. You appeal, you get your money back. You get your tokens back. So don't you think that, oh, slashing, that's it. No. It's not like, it's a network for people. It's not a network for some whatever, unreal, like unreally perfect world. We understand the world is not perfect, so of course there are lots of on-chain provisions for that. Okay, question from Edge of Busters. When exactly is mainnet, and what claim are we going to claim our token? You mean probably what time are we going to claim our token? So by the name Edge of Busters, Edge of Busters, are you in the Ghost Whales group, by the way? If not, please PM one of the admins in the general community so we can add you to the Ghost Whales. So the mainnet, last question, let me address it, and maybe we'll pause here. And thank you so much. We're getting more and more viewers. That's good. We started with 5, now it's 12. I think it was 14 at the highest, which is, thank you so much. Slowly but surely, we're going to get it. Slowly but surely. And we're going to figure out lots of things. We also, if you guys remember, Zafir, you remember, right? We paused Telegram, because Telegram, in certain jurisdictions, was actually not allowed, the Telegram calls. We paused them maybe for maybe 6 months. So it's happening. This is the process of launching everything, right? So you guys also aware of the timeline. Okay, so most likely we're going to launch Ghost Chain testnet. Yes. We then launch Ghost DAO. I'm not sure if you see it on my screen. We'll see. So Ghost DAO also on a testnet. Testnet 1. Then we launch Ghost DAO on testnet 2. You may not see the entire picture, but you gotta get the idea. Yeah. So with testnet 1 and testnet 2, we show the entire dynamic of how the bridge works, how our innovative decentralized bridge, keyword is decentralized, works between testnet 1 and testnet 2. We may do testnet 3. That's why it's also a good idea to partner with everybody. The more people we can partner, the better. Right, goes down here. Which testnets can we partner on? There are certain conditions on the testnets as well. The testnet obviously needs to be EVM compatible. It needs to have a DEX which follows a curve. So it's either like Uniswap, SushiSwap. I forgot. Ideally, it follows Uniswap v2, not Uniswap v3, but Uniswap v2. I forgot the quick swap, I think. So there are some swaps, right? There are some dexes that follow the curve, right? So let me just like point it out. So first of all, the chain needs to be EVM compatible. It needs to have a DEX which follows a version 2, a v2 of Uniswap. And then it needs to have a stable. And that's a question. What type of stable will it have? Ideally, it has DAI. Maybe Frax. Now, let's assume the chain doesn't have DAI or Frax. Let's assume they only have Tether or Circle. Are we going to deploy? I don't know. I don't know. Right? So that's a question here. That's a question here. Because why would we deploy on, with centralized stablecoins? Now, is DAI everywhere? No. So from the 20 plus chains, unfortunately or fortunately, this sample is limited or focused to about 6 chains. Talking about how every single chain is so fucking great and every single new fork is going to change the world. There's not a stablecoin there and there's no DEX. Why does your chain exist in the first place? That's why we're saying that lots of these chains are total Web 2.5. How can your chain exist without a DEX? How can your chain exist without a stablecoin? I'm talking about decentralized stablecoin like DAI, Frax. Fork it. Why don't you fork stablecoins if that's such a great use case? Because chances are you fund it as a chain development with stablecoins. But of course with Tether or Circle. Hypocrisy at its best. So that limits us to 6 to 7 chains at this point of time, based on preliminary research. Okay, so we do, let's assume, up to 6 testnets, and we do ghost chain testnet. Good. Once we see there's enough activity, once we see excitement, once we see the users, all we do essentially is add, let me just do different color, purple. We add, let's assume, Ethereum mainnet. All right? And on that mainnet, we also launch Ghost DAO. Once we connect the mainnet, the Ghost chain could be considered as a mainnet chain. Boom. Of course, we will most likely do multiple launches of the Ghost testnet. So don't you think that this is just like a one-time thing. Oh, we just connect it once and that's it. No. It's a work in progress, especially since it's a community-driven project. So we need everybody's involvement and we need you guys to be patient, and we are also patient ourselves, because trust me, we're doing this, I don't know. Again, I say that we probably don't spend 100-hour weeks, but we definitely spend 80-hour weeks for months, for years now, right? So please be patient with us when we are deploying all this stuff. Because we may need to redeploy Ghost testnet. We may need to redeploy Ghost testnet again to actually say, okay, now it's a mainnet. But ideal scenario is we launch Ghost testnet once, connect testnet Ghost DAOs, connect one mainnet, and then from there on connect other mainnets as well. Say Matic mainnet also Ghost DAO, right? And when I say like 6 chains, I mean 6 mainnet chains at this point of time are ready for deployment. 6 out of 20 plus, if not 30 plus, if not 50 plus. Because these 6 chains on the mainnet, most of them don't have a DEX and don't have a stablecoin. All right. Any closing questions, closing remarks, feedback, anything? Guys, thank you so much. It's been great. Hope the quality is great. Video, audio, everything. Last questions. Once, twice. Okay, let me spend 50 more, 30 more seconds because there's a little bit of delay. And if there are no questions, we'll close. And thank you so much. Please, any potential partner that you think we need to integrate with, mirror swap, deploy on chain, etc., throw them in the group. Those are the type of discussions we need to start having as a community. All right, I don't think I have any questions. Thank you so much. See you guys next week. Enjoy it.